Hey everyone, it's Ivan at KitBadger.com. Here this Throwback Thursday, taking a look back in time, back to that Baja 1000 adventure and kind of fleshing it out and some takeaways from it and what ultimately came of it. Ultimately, while the Baja 1000 was an amazing adventure, it ended early. Basically, we only made it to mile marker, 170 something, and lost too much time, had to call the race, but went home, had a lot of fun. But then when I got home, I was sitting there and I'm like, well, I already have a race car, so why not do some more racing? Looking into the beginning of 2003, SCORE International has a big series of races through the year. They at least did, I don't know if they still do, but culminates with the Baja 1000 at the end of the year. So I started looking, I was like, all right, well, what do they have coming up next? And the next race they had was the Laughlin Desert Challenge over in Laughlin, Nevada, and basically it's a course rather than a point-to-point race or anything like that. So you end up doing some laps. Got entered into that, went down there. Long story short, ended up going out. My cousin was driving with me and went over, slammed down on some bump. Battery came loose, fell into the engine compartment. One of the pulleys cut through the cable. Car dies. Get out, throw the hood off to the side. We're like, oh man, pull the battery up. All the bracketing had broken off. So took a ratchet strap off the back, ran it through the wheel well, ratchets this thing down, and then, you know how there's a little body ground? If you do or if you don't. There's a body ground usually. It's like a little braided metal wire, goes to the frame of your car, aside from the big ground, duplicate, back up. Well, we had taken the old ground off, ran a new ground. Ground wire got cut. So we took this little backup one, which I'd never gotten rid of, hanging from this braided wire, threw it on there to get us going. Started cruising back around the track, just kind of milking it because we wanted to get back around. My cousin Graham and I finally make it back around, and in front there's a big stadium, and the course comes in front of the stadium, makes a really sharp turn, goes, and in front of this big stadium seats is this massive jump. It's probably like a, 8-10 foot like tabletop jump. When we were going out, because the course starts there and you go out, when we went out, we just rolled down the steep backside of it, went, another sharp turn, there's a huge berm, everyone's sitting up on there watching the race, then it goes out in the desert, eventually comes back around in front. And we're like, we're probably not gonna make the time. We're already almost out of the race because of the condition of the battery. Let's go big. So we make this turn, coming back down in front of the stadium. I just start going through the gears, faster, faster, faster. We end up coming off this jump, and from where we cleared the jump, the end of the jump, this big tabletop, to where we landed, cleared about 53 feet. Keep in mind, Toyota Tercel wagon. Boom, bounce, all four wheels up off the ground. And now I'm coming into this really sharp turn down at the end, and we're going way too fast. Everyone's cheering because they're just like, I can't believe someone just did that in this yellow Toyota Tercel wagon. And way too fast, come in, get caught in some ruts, end up going over. We're upside down, like guys run out with the flags, paramedics come out, fuel's pouring out of the vehicle. Like I'm trying to turn all the switches off, undo our belts, boom, fall on the roof of our car, climb out, get it pushed over, and then we ended up just limping our car off the track. That race was done. Trailer the vehicle home, replace some CVs, pound out some dents, still have a working race car. What's coming up next? Henderson Terrible 250, another race out Henderson, Nevada, 250 miles. Again, I believe it was laps. Didn't complete that either. Got out there in the middle of it, got into these silt beds and completely buried, like bottom of the frame, touching the top of the silt, had to get pulled out. That race was over, didn't complete it. And at that point, the vehicle was about done. That Toyota Tercel wagon, taking about all the abuse it could, time to retire it. I still didn't feel like I was done racing though, so looked around, found this old Chevy Blazer. Rounded up a new crew and was like, let's do this. Let's race the Baja 1000. Got it all caged, got it painted, headed down. And this time I was pretty committed. Didn't even have a trailer to tow it on. Drove it down there. Went through inspection, everything, got ready, raced that thing in the Baja 1000 at the end of 2003. How'd that work out? Made it further than the first time, probably around mile marker 190 or something like that, and we had already ran into all sorts of things. One of the big issues with the old Blazers is the steering box. What can happen is there's too much torque on it and can rip away from the frame. We knew this, so we had it plated, basically a big metal plate over the frame and then the steering box on that, reinforcing it. Didn't matter. Totally started ripping out at some point along the course. Pulled into, I forget who the pit crew was, totally helped us out. There's a bunch of these like locals and stuff, maybe a couple other guys that came down there. One guy is pouring fuel into the generator. Another guy's like feathering the throttle. While the third guy is using this wire feed welder. And what we're trying to weld is basically this steering box, which is, it's made out of like cast iron or something like that. Doesn't weld. So he's feeding all this sacrificial metal into it, like throwing Allen wrenches into it, all this other metal, trying to get this thing to stay. In fairness, the dude did an amazing job with what he had. Got us back on the course, but eventually that went out. Right around mile marker like 193 or something. Middle of the night, dark, all of a sudden the vehicle starts floating. I'm trying to put input into the steering wheel, nothing's happening. Eventually float off the road, and I'm trying to correct, nothing. Start plowing into some poor rancher's fence post. Just bam, 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 destroying this barbed wire fence into this field, drifting. Finally, all those corrections I put in the steering wheel somehow make it down into my steering. Front wheels slam hard, lock up, catch. We go end over end out into this field. Boom, boom, in this Blazer. Land, fortunately, right side up. And my A driver's just like, oh my God. I'm like, are you all right? He's like, yeah, are you? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Start it back up, drive back onto the course into a circle and smash back into the fence again. Steering was totally shot. That race was over. You okay? I'm good. I'm good too, mofo. Oh, find the road. I'm looking like plastic. Oh, fuck. Alright, stop here. Alright, let's check ourselves. Oh my fucking God. You alright? I'm good, man. Holy fuck. You alright? Oh shit. That was interesting. But even though our race was over, Baja 1000, 2003, every time you start a race, you get starting points, and then you get more points if you finish it. Well, sportsman truck class, which is what I was racing in, is one of those where race what you bring. Nobody's competing in that class or anything like that. And honestly, it's one of those where people go out there because they want to go race. They race one and they're done. That's pretty much what almost everyone does. I just happen to have raced 3. So guess who gets an invitation to the 2003 award banquet in Las Vegas, Nevada? This guy does. Went up there, got presented with Sportsman Truck Driver of the Year 2003. And honestly, my trophy was exactly the same size, just as big as the Trophy Truck Driver of the Year, first place, back in 2003 as well. I walked away with the first place trophy, and it was rad. Only reason I won it is because I had started so many races that all of my starting points were more than other people who had raced one race and actually finished it and got finishing points for that race. Pretty cool. That, to date, is one of the 2 trophies I ever got that was actually worth a damn, that I actually did something cool for. Granted, I didn't even finish any of those 3 races in 2003, but there I was, shaking hands with Sal Fish at the awards banquet. It was really amazing. And what's the takeaway from this? The big takeaway is you can do whatever the hell you want to do. No one gave me permission to go race in the Baja 1000 or anything like that. Like, I was 24 years old and I was like, that seems cool. I want to go do that. Granted, I was in a place where I didn't really have responsibilities. I didn't have any kids yet or anything like that. But so often I think we find ourselves in positions where there's things we actually want to do and we don't get ourselves permission to go do those things. If there's something you want to get after, by all means go after it. We only got one at bat here, so make the most of it. As always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.